Barcelona, yes, we thought we won La Liga after Madrid bottled that game against Valencia. Welcome to the recap. Hey Manny, how you doing today?
Chilling, Juan. Good to be back.
Did you watch both games, brother, on the weekend?
I ain't gonna lie, I had to catch the highlights and just listen to what everybody had to say about it. I work night shift, I had to catch up on everything. I wasn't awake during the Real Madrid game.
How'd you feel about the Real Madrid game, man?
Dude, when I woke up and I see Real Madrid lost to Valencia, I'm like they had to use the bench. Something had to go wrong. And then I started watching the highlights and just hearing what everybody had to say. And we just completely like fumbled the game, just didn't show up.
Dude, and it's the worst part is that your own canterano, Hugo Duro, came out of Real Madrid, went to Getafe, then I think back to Madrid and now to Valencia, scored the winning goal. It's like
And then they
spinning in your
scored last
brain.
second. They scored last
Exactly.
second. It was the Madrid classic, like the Madrid special. Scored last minute and ripped their hearts out.
It's in his DNA. What, obviously, you just kind of watch the highlights, but what do you think went wrong in that game, man?
I think part of it was Ancelotti and his lineup, and then just players not showing up.
Who, obviously, we're now getting to the time where we're like, okay, it's Ancelotti because Madrid seems like it's going to be hard for them to win the Liga. They have a challenging battle against Arsenal for the Champions League, and you're facing Barcelona for the Copa del Rey. So now we're kind of like pointing more fingers at Ancelotti. But what players do you think are not, giving their all or doing what they're supposed to be doing for this club?
I think Vinny has been underperforming. Yeah, he scored, but he missed the penalty. He's gone a lot of games in the league without scoring. I wouldn't put him in the top five, top 10 Ballon d'Or rankings. Like he's been really underwhelming, and it's because you expect a lot out of a player like that.
Is Ancelotti not playing for Vinny anymore? Is the team not playing for Vinny anymore? Is the fact that Mbappe is there, Mbappe is now the man, and Vinny is now like, like, hey, bro, you're still good, you're still cool, but you ain't a main guy no more. Is that what it is, or is it something else?
I think it's all in his head because from what I've seen, it all happened after the Ballon d'Or celebration. He was expecting to win it. He was killing it up until that moment. He was throwing a party, I think, is what I read when he found out that he wasn't going to win it. And then after that, 2025 starts and Vinny just falls off a cliff. It's like back to when he first joined Real Madrid when he was like, Benzema came out and said like, "Hey, don't pass this man the ball. He's playing for the other
Watch this
team."
guy. Yeah, that's wild. But I mean, we can't put all the blame on Vinny, though.
No, you
You
can't.
know, players have good seasons, bad weeks, bad months, good months. Or is this something that we're going to be like, you know what? This is the type of player Vinny is going to be in the future because of all these other things, like, what's going on in his head. Ancelotti's not the guy that's going to be able to put his head in the right place. Do we think any other coach can put Vinny's head in the right place, or should Vinny be sold? There is rumors that Saudi money is willing to put a lot of money to take Vinny out there.
You know, Taking off the jersey, the smart thing to do is like if Saudi comes with an incredible offer that you can't pass up, you got to let him go.
You got to let him go. Who do you bring in to replace Vinicius Jr.?
I believe you bring in a nine. I feel we needed a nine since last year, and it never got addressed. They just forced Mbappe to play that role. And I think you bring Mbappe back to the left, and you bring in a number nine and see where you go from there.
But if you bring in a number nine, then that means the that Endrick won't see a game. So what do? You loan him out? Do you sell him? Do you cut your losses? You're like, hey, this guy is not turning out to be what we thought it was gonna be, or you're gonna loan him out, 3, 4 years to see if he hopefully, develops and becomes a better player.
He's come out on interviews and he said all the right things. He's saying that he wants to be in Real Madrid. He'll keep improving and he'll keep waiting for his chance. And there's plenty of players that it took them a minute to adjust. I think it's our best player at the moment, Valverde. He was out on loan. It took him a while to crack the starting 11, but once he cracked it, he took off. So maybe Hendrick just needs some time. I don't think he's a flop, so to say, but
No,
you
no,
can't
no.
say the future.
We're not calling him a flop, but what we're saying is if you bring in a number nine, a proven number nine,
Yeah.
that just that just eliminates if Endrick already has minimal minutes. He already has minimal minutes. If you bring in a number nine, you swap Mbappe to the left, you were literally, pull the rug under the floor from him, under his legs, because his minutes are going to be limited to maybe just playing like friendlies at the U.S. tours, instead of playing like Copa del Rey matches or La Liga matches or any Champions League matches.
I believe a good manager could find a way to make it work, bring him in 10, 15, 20 minutes. A match, when you have the game pretty much won, you can bring him in for cup matches against inferior teams, on a league day when it's like it should be a pretty easy day, you could start him if that's what you need to do, rest key players. There's always chances, it's just up to I feel it's up to the manager to make those decisions and make the right decision.
Right. I mean, and it seems like they're gonna get a new manager. You've been advocating for Xabi Alonso. You know who I think would be a really good replacement, and he's proven already. He hasn't won anything, but it's because it's been hard to win anything, especially when Man City is playing Man City ball.
I think I know where you're going with this.
I think Arteta would be the right man for the job.
Yeah, he's a proven manager, as you were saying, that was City's league, they were dominating it for all these years, but it seems like he really brought up Arsenal into a place where they can compete against any club in the world.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. And the way that Arsenal plays, you got your wingers, they play with no striker too, because they don't have a natural, box to box striker, somebody that can just stay in the 18 and get it in. So all those little details, the way that their midfield set up, their back, I'm like, dude, this guy would be perfect for Real Madrid.
Yeah, that's definitely if he's an option, it's something I would be okay with. I think a lot of people would be okay with that in the fans of Madrid.
Right. Now, all of us, me included, we thought that Barcelona were going to win the league last week. I mean, this weekend, Barcelona were going to win the league this weekend. We were going to have 6 points up. We're going to beat Madrid, at home, and then our next game, Espanyol, we're going to do the pasillo of the champions. But it didn't go that way. Barcelona got a 1-1 draw against Real Betis, where Barcelona looked tired. They looked a bit tired. They didn't look fresh. Do you think this is because it's been like four games in 9-10 days, or is it going to be another one of those like high, low, and then maybe high again?
I think, you always got to factor in fatigue. These players are playing a whole lot of games and they're not resting much. They still have to train, prepare for your next match, travel. So it could be fatigue. And then also like, are they like locked in? Are they truly focused? How bad do they want it?
I believe Barcelona do want it and they're focused and they have the players to do the rotations. That's why I'm not too sure if, you can add in the fatigue, but it is possible that's what it is because it is a lot of games, a lot of high demanding games in a short period of time where I mean, no team has 24 players to swap like this and their team's going to work perfectly. You still need to have some key players in the game, like a Pedri, like a Frankie de Jong, like a Lamine, Cubarsí in the back to kind of like still have your team, your well-oiled machine keep functioning. So there's players that are going to get more fatigued than others, but I do think Barcelona wants to win everything. And if they want to win everything, we have to make all the goals. Any chances that we have in front of goals, I mean, in front of the goal, it has to go in.
Right, right. You do have to respect your opponent. You can't just throw in like Barcelona B out there. You do gotta bring, as you were saying, play some key players.
Yeah.
And it does seem like they want it, but it's up to manager, rotate his players, keep them fresh. If you see somebody tired, pull them out, bring somebody in. But it does seem like Barca was lacking something this weekend.
Right. Right. And I believe it was freshness, fatigue. But overall, a 1 point honestly seems like we lost 2 points instead of gaining 1 point because we were all hyped and we all wanted those 6 points ahead. But, I guess 1 point is better than none realistically, but overall, ideally it was supposed to be those 3 points. Do you still think that Madrid has a chance and is there a Liga or is the Liga pretty much over?
There's always a tiny bit of chance, when it's this close. But the way that Madrid's been looking, the way Barca's been looking, even like you can't just put it all on, bad refereeing, but it does seem like the refereeing is a little Barcelona biased.
Wow.
Look, yeah, man,
Really? Did you see that penalty they gave to Kylian Mbappe? Come on, bro.
it could have gone either way, but it did look like a penalty to me.
Really? Never be a ref, Manny. Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. And then there's all this thing with Dani Olmo too and Pau Victor about the registration. So
Right.
that's all, it's all gonna be interesting. But I do agree with you. I think there's always a chance because any team can slip up. No team is immune to errors or injuries, that might come up. I, I would give it like an 80-20 that Barca kind of is gonna win the league. What about you?
I give it like 9 to 10. I think
Oh,
it's I think it's all about
I'm more
done.
optimistic for you than you're optimistic for yourself, for
Right.
your team. I
Yeah, it would take a whole like collapse from Barcelona to bottle this league.
agree. I agree. But I just wanted to be kind to all the Madrid fans that say that all I do is, shit on them. So, I mean, not
Hey,
them, the
we're
team.
if we're anything, we're honest.
There you go. We're honest. We're honest about our opinions. Alrighty, Manny. Any last words before we sign off?
Family
I never
to
fails.
the end, to the end.
Thank you for watching another episode of the recap. If you have any comments or any concerns of what the things that we say, let us know in the comments down below. And if you love football, soccer, make sure to subscribe.